Okay, so on a very different topic, let's have a think about our content creation. So what I'm going to do is just sort of take you through basically how I approach my content strategy, like
Mhm.
best practice essentially that I've learned over time. Um, and give you a bit of a framework really to think about
Okay.
that and to start mapping out some ideas. And then I'll give you a bit of homework off the back of this,
Mhm.
which I think will help you to then frame your posts and your content
Mhm.
writing going forward. It's worked really well for lots of other people. There is also another session that we did in cohort 1, which is specifically around profile audits. And I would recommend going back and having a look at that, because that also obviously, to be honest, is the first step before getting your content strategy sorted, and it will help you to frame that really well. But I don't want to keep repeating the same thing. So let's move it on to this. And then when you have
Yeah.
time, go back and have a look at that if you can. Right. So content strategy. How much content are you doing at the moment, would you say?
So I bulk mine. So I reduced it. So on Instagram, I post once a week on the grid, and I don't play to the algorithms because I post. So mine is we have a format of it's a post, a picture, and a reel.
Yeah.
Those repeat, and what I have is we plan them in Trello, so they're already pre-planned and then scheduled in.
Nice.
And the way that the content is written is based off of my strategy, my cyclical strategy. So we know what we're going to be posting when, etc. We do
Yeah.
also put the same post on the LinkedIn business page. Like
Okay.
it doesn't really, honestly, it's there, but it still
Yeah.
gets, it gets some kind of views. I didn't
Yeah.
have that for a very long time, but we just use exactly the same and go from there. The rest I
Yeah.
do then is I post on stories on Instagram, usually on like a 24-hour cycle, like at
Yeah.
looping. And on my main LinkedIn page, that's a bit more kind of sporadic. I post when I kind of fancy talking about something or if I've been somewhere.
Yeah.
But I keep those two a bit separate. But
Yeah.
that's how I've been. And I also send out a monthly newsletter, which to the
Yeah.
subscribers, which has got a
Yeah.
slightly different tone, but that's already pre-planned. So my November one's written already. So I write that based on what we're talking about. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And do you just sort of as an aside really, but do you post that newsletter on LinkedIn as well?
Yes, I do, and so it goes onto the LinkedIn page, business page, and then it also sits on my blog area of my website.
Do you actually create a LinkedIn newsletter for it?
No, I don't, and one of the reasons I haven't done that is because it was a bit of a faff, and I was like, do you know what? It was there, and because I blogged for 100 days when I first started the business, I've got a blog page, and then I want something up, so it has a lot. So my website guys are like, there's shitloads of CEO, get
Yeah.
out like, so they do stuff with that over on that side.
Okay. The reason I ask that is because the LinkedIn newsletters are a really great way of engaging all of your
Okay,
followers. So
okay,
when you create a post on LinkedIn, it will obviously only go to a potentially very
yeah.
tiny percentage of the people that follow you. When
Mm.
you create a newsletter, it automatically is sent to every single person that is subscribed to it.
Okay.
So I
Mm.
started a new newsletter last week basically, because
Yeah.
I was only sending it to to certain segments of my followers and audience and what have you.
Hmm.
But I put it on LinkedIn this week and it's already got something like 2,000 subscribers.
Okay.
And that's not super unusual. Like LinkedIn newsletters tend to get lots of subscribers and do quite well.
Okay.
So if you're already writing it, it's
Yeah.
really not like a big thing to copy. I mean, it's
Okay.
literally place, right? And then just finding an image.
Okay.
Um, so I
Yeah.
would recommend if you've got somebody doing it, or even if you're just doing it yourself, it is a good use
Yeah.
of content. So
Okay.
yeah, that's one thing, but I mean, that's not what we're going to be talking about here specifically. What we are going to be focusing on a bit more is our LinkedIn posting and content
Mhm.
strategy, because lots of people are in your position and they just sort of, as you say, post, you know, when the mood takes them, or when
Mm.
they've been to an event, or there's something obvious to talk about. What we're going to try and do is get to a point where you're doing on LinkedIn what you're doing on Instagram, because I think it's a
Mm.
super relevant audience for you, and
Mhm.
leveraging your background and connections on your personal
Mm.
profile. Business pages on LinkedIn are really hard to build. I think it's great
Mm.
that you've got one. I think everybody should have one, but it's not the place where you're going to get all your engagement. The engagement is going to come through your own personal profile and pages.
Yeah.
With that in mind, what we're going to try to do today is to build a content strategy that aligns with both your professional goals, what it is you're trying to create and who you're
Mhm.
trying to reach, as well as your audience needs. We're going to look at the content pillars, so that you know what to post and why you're posting it. We'll craft some messaging that positions you as the kind of trusted voice in your space,
Mm.
let's say, not just another kind of AI driven post. And we'll start planning and scheduling posts. But I think, you know, if you're already using Trello for that, then to be honest, I would just carry on with
Yeah.
that now. Right. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. And then you can see what these pillars look like. So these are I mean, you know, we don't need to use all of these. Any sort of 3 of these 5 work really well.
Mhm.
And they're broken down into five sections. So your expertise pillar, what are the topics you're most knowledgeable about? What do people often ask you for advice on? Audience needs pillar, what problem does your target audience face? What solutions or insights can you provide? Credibility and proof. What are your success stories, case studies, data, testimonials? These are the things that people often don't post about on LinkedIn because they feel like they're showing off. Whereas
Mm.
actually it is often what converts people. So it's
Mhm.
definitely worth having a post occasionally about this sort of stuff. Your human and relatable pillar, I think you'd be really good at this. The sort of personal experiences, your values, obviously, what sort of
Yeah.
led you into this space, and why, and what you're trying to solve. And
Yeah.
then future and vision, obviously where you're going with the business, the fact that
Yeah.
you already have a successful business, but this is something that's really calling you, and what you hope to create with it.
Yeah.
Um, are these kind of familiar? Like, have you explored this before?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I first started to put it a bit more seriously together, this is so I worked with an agency that helped me put the pillars in, but
Yeah.
that was at a point where it was different, very different to where we are now. So what
Yeah.
I probably need to do is, so the peony community that I'm developing and evolving, when I come to look at the way that I want the content to go, I need to do this exercise specifically for that.
Yeah.
Because I've done it across the board more around the HR consultancy side. So
Yeah.
yeah, I am aware that I need to probably go back and do this.
Okay. Okay.
That's helpful to revisit, because I think almost I might even start. So LinkedIn is different, but I might even start a whole new Instagram like page.
Okay.
I might start from fresh from there, because I think that I don't want to blur the two
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
But bringing it back into LinkedIn, I can talk about both.
Yeah, definitely you can. And I think that's the key thing. It's not thinking about a specific business or even a specific solution. It's
Mm.
thinking about these themes and then threading, you know, those
Yeah,
solution businesses into it, because we're not trying to sell via our posts. We are trying to educate, to help people understand, and then, you know, gradually over time convert them. So
yeah,
those are the 5 pillars. I would say for this exercise, pick maybe the 3 that chime best with you, and just start to scope out some
yeah,
topics that you'd feel comfortable talking about. And then I would say, if you can, start to map those pillars to your audience's needs and your business goals.
yeah,
So for each of those pillars, when you're working through the themes and topics, have a think about obviously what your audience from your audience's perspective, what they would need to know, or they could learn, or they could take from this, and then how your content is aligning to where you want to go. Because otherwise, I mean, there's so many things everybody can talk about all the time, and it's just like you don't have time to do that, and you don't want to waste your time creating posts that just don't really do anything. And the kind of point 2 here is what brings it back to usefulness for your audience and usefulness for you, essentially. And then we won't have time for in this session. This is some of the stuff that we ran through last time. So would you like to give this a go, and then perhaps come back in 10-15 minutes, and we can have a look at this, and then I can share with you a post template and a quick exercise you can do to help you to map out that content and start creating those first posts. Would that make sense?
Okay, so if I'm specifically focusing on where I want to go next, so I did put a post out last week on LinkedIn, just again, probably taking very much the human part, just saying, oh my God, I've been in my brain and this is ridiculous. And so I'm just going to say something's happening. And instantly people are like, oh, amazing. Didn't literally wrote it in my notes, didn't overthink it and posted it. And so out of that, obviously, now I've started. So the next thing is the team have got a wait list, link ready, etc. So that will go into my newsletter. So that will also go out on a post. So I think probably if I start at that where I am at that point. So what do you want me to do? You want me to pick?
So I want you to have a look at these. I'll leave this on the
You.
screen. Have a look at these and then pick. I mean, look, you can do all 5 if you want, but in the interest of sort of time and efficiency, I pick probably 3 that resonate most deeply with you, and then start jotting down some themes, some ideas, some angles, whatever it may be, underneath these that serve these 2 things, right? That you can definitely map back to what your audience needs or wants to know, and where you're going and how it's going to be useful.
Okay, all right. I'll put myself on silence then and just
I'll leave this on screen. Okay, I'll jump back in like 10 minutes or so. Okay, how did you get on with that?
Hello. The screen kept flicking, Helen, so I don't know if
Oh,
you can see it. It's a double screen, so I couldn't see the first headers.
God, that's
Um,
annoying. Sorry. No, it's
don't worry. So I
don't
did it
worry.
from memory of what the
Okay, well done.
um so it's a bit maybe it may not be in exactly the same flow because I was
No,
like,
that's
oh,
fine.
so I'm still seeing two screens. I don't know if you are.
No, hang on, let me just stop
Oh,
sharing. Wait a
it's
minute.
literally like split screen and it keeps it half of it's flicking
That's so
across.
weird. I have no idea why. Okay, let's try again. Is that better?
There we go, I can see that now. That's fine.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You'd gone, so I couldn't say, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I kind of pretty much started to scribble down the bits that I thought around. Um, okay, so that was a bit at the bottom. How does the content connect back to the bottom? Okay. Should I just start nattering?
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, the one that I thought about was the thought leader part because
Okay.
um credibility wise, I've been recognized in the past for this within my industry. So I thought, let's pull on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and so I actually it made me think I put a post out a couple of weeks ago after an event around why we need to focus on the human in as things are evolving around AI, etc. But
Yeah.
I linked it to the Global Flourishing Study. And there are factors in there, so happiness and life satisfaction, mental and physical, etc. So I was like, actually, that would be a really good thing to hang this back off of. So looking at the
Okay.
global side, um, so I'm not just UK, but this is but in the UK we score really lowly. So actually, the happiness, the mental, the meaning, purpose, etc., etc. So these are pillars already which link
Yeah.
into a bigger part. So I thought,
Yeah.
well, actually, let's bring more of that information in, start focusing on. So I have an ideal client that I've already mapped out. They're called Bobby. So Bobby, it doesn't matter if Bobby is a leader within a business or somebody that I'm going to coach. They are the same person. They
Okay.
just sit in different places. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought for a while about having more than one. I'm like, no, it's this. This is
Good.
my person.
Okay.
So so every time I talk about Bobby, it's referring back to them understanding. So they are already quite informed. They have already tried quite a lot of different things. They are at a point where, like, I don't want them to teach them to how to suck eggs, but they know that there's something that they're not being able to access. So in
Yeah.
a fractional kind of basis where I'm going in, they know that they need to sort out their HR, but they just don't have the expertise, so they get me in. So
Okay.
it's that point.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
from the coaching point, it's the same. It's perhaps using this thought leadership part to get Bobby to understand which part of the flourishing study matters most to them, or where
Okay.
they're kind of not aligning.
Yeah.
Um, and then the call to action is around getting them to play a part. So talking around there's a new peony community is evolving. This is what it
Yeah.
is. Um, Asking them to join the focus group using the
Yeah.
waitlist link, etc. So
Yeah.
and talking about why community matters. So that's one part that I thought could perhaps work. Um,
Okay.
the data part, now that I think might come later, because I would like to be able to do some in the focus groups. I'd like to try and do some polls and to try and get them
Yeah.
to start feeding in. So I've got some people that I want to put into the focus group, but I want to open it up to a wider audience as well.
Okay.
And so as that develops and as that grows, again, just sharing the information. So information I know already. So quite a few years ago now, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I spoke about men's mental health, and probably perhaps slightly before the wave of other people
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And so pulling back on what we spoke about here, what we're seeing here. So bringing that thread all the way through about the
Yeah.
data that we've already talked about. Um,
Nice. Okay.
And then again, evolving it back onto why it's so important that we have to take the time to stop, rest, invest in ourselves, because
Yeah,
we're effectively, what my focus is getting people to sign up to what is effectively a membership of a community,
yeah,
which is self-led coaching. So
yeah,
understanding why they need to make that investment.
yeah,
So that was that part of it. I thought about maybe talking a bit around bringing in the human, the expertise together. That actually a few years ago, I was perhaps the person that they are now. So
yeah,
I had some of the knowledge, but not all of it. Um,
yeah,
I'd hit burnout more than once, etc. But
yeah,
actually, over the time, stuff that maybe I would have said was a bit too woo-woo or a bit like
yeah, yeah,
doesn't give me value, actually, I've started to invest in, and this is what it looks like. So I thought
yeah,
perhaps bringing those two together. But the values one, again, probably under the human part, that's the bit that always resonates with people. So
yeah,
going back and saying, this is what I do in business, I go back to foundations. The first thing I say is, what foundations do you have in place? So what I've done is I've reflected on what the hell am I doing with this next part of my business?
yeah,
I've gone back to my values, and this is what they
yeah,
look like, and this is what I've aligned. Um, and with that, the focus is on potential partnerships for the future. So part of the community is aligning people who I can have a referral element. So there might be people that I've met along the way that it perhaps they want to go and do something that or explore something. It's not my area of expertise, but
hmm,
there is a directory of people there that then there would be some referral. And I've started to already look at who those people could be, and where
okay.
I found them. So I thought perhaps that focus is it coming a little bit later. Um,
Sorry, let me just
that's
quickly
okay.
send a message on this. I've got my kids calling me.
That's okay.
I know why they're calling me as well.
They're hungry.
They're looking for their iPads. That's why they're calling me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hide them when
Yeah,
I go out the
yeah,
house. I hide them. Otherwise, you know what happens.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that
That,
slight
no,
interruption.
no, that's fine. But it's sort of that human part around the values and the future part of it.
Yeah.
It's just dropping the seed in that as this evolves, I'm going to be looking for partnerships. And there's actually a lady that I met, a lady called Kirsty that I met at Ideas Fest. I've already started some conversations. She does
Okay.
beautiful like corporate retreats, but in
Yeah.
very different settings.
Yeah.
So for example, she pitches to HR leaders to come out
Yeah.
to then, and so one of the conversations is that I might go along as a participant to see how that is run.
Right.
But the flip side is I might then become white labeled and deliver some of my sessions to in those retreats as well.
Okay.
So I've already
Okay.
started to build up some of those
Nice.
kind of connections. So that values and vision piece perhaps sits together,
Yes.
but it's a whole bit that I can break down to like multiple posts over time.
Well, this is it. I think you've got some strong themes there. My word of caution around this is to try not to think of it from a kind of commercial selling perspective or even partnership
Mm,
perspective at this point. I think when
mm,
you start on a content strategy, particularly on LinkedIn, it is quite tempting to always have the CTA as DM me if you'd like to explore, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
See what you need to be doing in the first kind of 1 to 3 months is just building your
mm,
credibility, building your trust, building out your expertise, kind of putting it on display in a way
yeah,
that, to the second point here, is useful to your audience. So you're explaining your journey, you're explaining your vision, you're explaining you know, as you say, data points and studies and things that kind of support what it is that you're doing, but you're doing it
Yeah.
in a way that's educating people rather than trying to convert people. And then once you kind of got that flywheel going, then you can start, you know, within sort of maybe a few months, start to try to convert people back into that funnel, on the odd post. So not on every post, but maybe
No.
3 or 4 posts, just have that kind of CTA that's, you know, if you're up for exploring this, then reach out to me or whatever. So it
Yeah.
is a bit of a long game, but I do think that you've got an awful lot of content, for one, because you've
Yeah.
written all of those blogs anyway, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those could be repurposed under some of these pillars,
Yeah.
and a lot of background and expertise to share. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, this, to be honest, is not just one module. I run entire like programs just on this kind
Yeah.
of thing. So it's hard to fit it into one session. But what I will do is just drop into the chat the post template, so the LinkedIn post template. And for your homework, what I would suggest that you do, would you say that you're relatively happy with your LinkedIn profile, or do you need to go and do a bit of work on it still?
I uh so I don't put any of the featured posts up. Like, I know there's stuff that I can do on it, but I just
Okay.
when was the last, I don't even know when the last time I tweaked the profile. I do it every
Yeah.
now and again. I think, maybe I should have a look at it. One thing I've tried not to do is kind of like, if I put it out there, I've put it
Yeah.
out there. If people see it and they like it, great. If they don't, do
Yeah.
you know what? It doesn't matter. I've tried to sort of do it in that way. But yes, the profile could probably do with updating. I could
Yeah, I
do.
mean, the reason I ask that is just because this bit of homework sort of relies on you having a profile that you are happy with and that you feel that reflects you both professionally and personally. So
Yeah.
that about section, even if, you know, obviously you want to have your career history up to date,
Mm,
um, but even if that the rest of the thing isn't as up to date as it could be,
yeah.
the about section really needs to tell your story
Yeah.
in a kind of personal way and not feel like an extension of your CV, because this next
Mm,
bit is about you creating some content that feels relatable and easy
hmm.
essentially for you to create. So let me just drop this into
Okay.
the chat. Um, and what that's the posting template. And what I would like you to do when you have some time, have a look at your profile, update your
Yeah.
about section, and then put into Chat GPT all of those things that you just talked to me about, those
Hmm.
pillars that you want to talk about, with your LinkedIn URL,
Yeah.
and ask it to come up with a 30-day content plan,
Hmm.
right? And it will come up with a bunch of different angles and posts and types of
Yeah.
posts and else. And then look at that and look at the ones that are the strongest for you, that feel the most
Yeah.
urgent, that feel the easiest in a way to write, and
Yeah.
pick a few of those and use this template to start writing them.
Okay. So glad you raised that, because one of the things that I talked to my EA about last week
Yeah,
was, um, because I'm going to be developing a program, which
yeah,
that I want to be able to, I want to use AI as a skill to help people also. They almost have a companion that is an AI companion that sits within the community, so that it's
yeah,
bringing that two elements together. We talked around the fact that if the program is written, actually we've already done the thinking power around what that looks like. So it's about reverse engineering, putting that program and saying,
yeah,
again, using AI and saying, like, these are the things that can you now just do.
exactly.
So taking it back the other way, rather
Yeah,
than what I perhaps do now is I use a strategy, go, and I do use Copilot quite often, and say, right, we're in month whatever, you know what the strategy is, da, 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 pull out 4 posts on clarity or whatever.
yeah,
And that's how I've started to do it, because
yeah,
it makes much more sense. But yeah,
definitely.
doing it the other way around, so that, because we're starting from fresh, that's where I was perhaps thinking of doing that. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was just thoughts on how you think that might work.
Yeah, I think that works really well. I think you still need to have a variety of posts. So when you do things like that, it's going to be what basically one type of post. It's going to be a kind of educational post that
Mm,
relies on, I mean, it probably fits under the expertise pillar, right? It
mm,
relies on kind of you, your knowledge, what you're creating, how you're helping people, those types of things.
mm,
Still going to need other types of
mm,
posts because that isn't necessarily going to convert anybody. It's not
mm,
necessarily going to build a huge amount of trust because we need your journey and your human
mhm.
experience, your reasons, and your vulnerability really to sell that. So I think it's good as like a one
Yeah.
pillar perhaps, but it's not going to solve probably all of your content problems. And
Okay.
that's why, like, I want you to take this structure, like 3 of these pillars, and put
Yeah.
that chat GPT.
In,
And by all means, like, it knows you, right? Like, if you're using it
yeah.
already, it knows what your content is and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to
Yeah.
pull all of that together for you, but in a bit more of a structured way that gives you
Hmm.
that breadth essentially when you're posting. So there's a very clear reason for people to buy into you and to trust you.
Yeah. And I do think you're absolutely right around the journey side, because I literally decided just to put the 100-day blog that went up on LinkedIn was before I had a blog. Like, my website started as a blog, but that didn't
Yeah.
even cut, like, it came with me going, okay, day one of not having an actual job, this is what it looks like. And every day I then wrote for the, it was the last 100 days of 2019. But I put out there, okay, here's some ideas about what my logo could look like. And I used to work for Sony Ericsson Global Marketing, and I had all these massive marketers going, oh,
Yeah.
giving loads of opinion. And
Oh,
actually
that's
that
amazing.
then, so yeah, so it absolutely worked. And I think I was doing it from place because you've got nothing. You know, you're
Yeah.
literally creating.
Like, start from
Um,
scratch.
yeah, and but now I think I've been in my head so much, I'm like, oh God, the expectation of putting something, like going back and talking like that, people are a little bit,
No, I people really, really relate to that. Like, I did the same
yeah,
thing when I started this year, kind of building this, this platform out.
mm,
I did the same thing, and my whole thing was like, look, I'm building out a platform for founders who are starting, and I'm also, by the way, a founder who's starting. Like, I know I've built twice
yeah,
before, but I am essentially starting from scratch in a new space. And I think we talked about this actually with Iman and with Rowan and with Twane, I think, on one
okay,
of the roundtables um, about a go-to-market strategy. And this was a very, very key part of that go-to-market strategy, which is a show and tell. It's
mm,
behind the scenes, it's the raw moments, it's the vulnerabilities, it's you on a Saturday, not wanting or
yeah,
being able necessarily to do anything else, but just kind of like, well, like chill out and do nothing.
mm,
Um, it's those types of insights, as far as you are comfortable to share them, that are going to
yeah,
help to buy into you, because this is a problem that you're solving for other people, because it's a problem
yeah,
that you've already experienced.
yes, yeah, okay, I can do that. I can do that, and I probably am more
Yeah.
comfortable sharing some bits again on Instagram, because it goes within the Instagram stories is my favorite, because I know it's going to
I
be gone
know,
in
'cause it's
24 hours.
illustrative. I get it, but I think that if you're going to be super brave, then
Yeah,
LinkedIn, if you can follow some of that LinkedIn template, the LinkedIn template I sent you, follow some
yeah,
of this, and just, again, this is honestly a 6-week course. It's not a 1 hour
yeah,
conversation, to be honest with you. But you can then start to think about the types of posts you're going to create. Like, a lot of that blog stuff and the content that you've got already is
yeah.
to be brilliant as a carousel. It's going to be brilliant as a PDF
Yeah.
scrollable document. It's a super easy kind of copy paste almost into that
Mm,
format, and LinkedIn really loves that kind of stuff, and it's very shareable, and it's
hmm.
a place for you then to have those things documented. That's your story, and
Yeah.
people, when they're looking at you and searching for your name, can look literally at what you've built and how you've done it. I mean, my LinkedIn is like it's like a diary, really. And that,
Yeah.
again, helps to build credibility. It helps to get you, from an SEO perspective, front and center. So it's
Hmm.
really worth investing the time in from so many different perspectives. And I feel like you've sort of got it anyway. You just need to
Yeah,
frame it in
yeah,
a different way.
yeah. Well, yes, because this is new. So even though I did launch Peony Community, it was more of a way for people to, it was accessible,
Yeah.
for people to be able to access it. I've actually, it should be down now on the website. This week they were going to take off the page that was there, put on a holding page, talk about, it's evolving, etc., etc. So it's not growing legs on its own. Like I
Yeah.
talk about P&M, people know that. Like yeah, people sometimes probably relate the other stuff that I've done, but
Yeah.
ultimately this is going to be new, so it has to be, I have to still put the same energy into
Yeah.
I did 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's super relevant, and I think you've got the building blocks. It's just a
yeah,
case of putting them together, and it doesn't have to be, crazy or massive, but I think just having that presence there, and everything that you post on your personal page, just repost to your business page. That's what I do. I mean, I don't do anything on our Founder Sanctuary business page. I just repost everything that's relevant to
okay,
that, and it just grows on its own. Like, I don't, yeah, that's that's
okay,
that's my strategy for my business page, because I know that people are going to buy into me way quicker than they're going to buy into a business page.
okay, because I don't repost my private ones into, well, private, on my profile ones into the
Yeah.
page, but I do the other way around. So I will occasionally. So at one point I was always reposting, and I was like, oh, it just seems like a pointless
No,
exercise.
I do it the other way. I put your
Mm,
content on your personal page, and I repost the relevant stuff to your business page, because it's
okay,
where you're going to get way more traction. Your ROI is going to be far higher on your personal page than your business page.
yeah,
So focus on
yeah.
the content there, and then repost what's relevant.
Yeah, sometimes I just go and have a rant about something, so I won't repost those ones.
Yeah,
Stuff that's relevant.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Probably less relevant,
Okay.
but yeah.
Um, but actually, when you're saying around the creating other forms as well, that is something that, again, because when the sub brand was created, it was with a graphic designer, and I always said I would revisit back to her. And I've been having some thoughts about what that would look
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Because there are some people that I work with who actually hold they hold lots of training sessions, they hold lots of and they're asking for actual physical materials. So I was like, oh, I think maybe this is quite a good time to perhaps
Yeah.
start creating something, and that also is printable. So yeah,
Nice. Okay.
okay, okay.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will leave this with you.
Mm-hmm.
Please feel free, well, ideally to share it in the group if you make any
Yeah.
your progress in terms of the calendar, and then perhaps, obviously your first couple of posts or whatever, so that we can
Mm-hmm.
all support that. But also I think just to kind of help the group to understand why this is important,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's there, for them to jump into and to do the same thing.
Yeah. No, I will do as soon as I know the wait list. Oh, well, I know it is because I've seen it in Mailerlite. It's live, but until it's made sure it looks a bit glossy, I'll get that. Yeah, I'll get that up and running.
Brilliant.
Okay. Thanks, Helen.
Good luck.
Thank you very much for your
Keep
time.
me
And
posted. Yeah, no
yeah, I
worries.
will
I'll see you
do. I
soon.
will do. See you
Have a good
later.
rest of your
Bye.
day. Bye.
Bye.